and welcome to this special inaugural edition of Dear Michelle Obama, the podcast, aka Dear Michelle. I am your host, Anonymous. Joe Biden is now the 46th President of the United States of America. Congratulations, President Biden. Dr. Jill Biden becomes the First Lady. Congratulations, Dr. Biden. Joe Biden has a lot of work ahead of him. He must begin the difficult work of healing a fractured nation and fixing a broken economy in the midst of a global pandemic. I believe that he is the right man for the job. His cabinet has already begun to reflect the beauty and diversity of our country, and I'm proud of him for that. Speaking of pride, can we pause for a moment to consider the historic implication of President Biden's presidency? He selected as his vice president none other than Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, a woman of Black and Asian descent who graduated from a historically Black college and university. I am so incredibly proud. Admittedly, my original choice for vice president was Amy Klobuchar. I saw Kamala Harris as a Supreme Court nominee or as a Secretary of State. I was wrong, and I'm happy to have been proven wrong. A woman of color is now Vice President of the United States. In the weeks before the inauguration, we saw the anger of some of our fellow citizens boil over. I would like for them to set aside their anger for a moment and consider this, that the mantra, "Make America Great Again," was always flawed. It honors those seated at the table when this great nation was founded, but it fails to consider that while they were seated at those tables, others were chained together in the bottom of ships. The promise of this great nation lies not in the actualized promise of those who sat at that table, but in the possibility, made eventuality, that someday even those chained at the bottom of ships would someday sit and eat too. We survived the journey. We survived the Middle Passage. We survived the horrors of slavery and the pain of Jim Crow and segregation and an incredibly flawed criminal justice system that allows some of us to storm capitals but yells at those of us who take a knee. And this is our country too. We have shed blood in every war this country has ever fought. We sing its anthems and cloak ourselves beneath its flags. To paraphrase Langston Hughes, we are the darker brothers and sisters, and today we dine too. Today we, all of us, get to decide who it is we choose to be as a nation. Do we choose to be a nation mired in hatred and unforgiveness? Or do we decide to join hands and step boldly into our shared future together? This is what it means to be American. This is the outcome of bringing to these lands the tired, the poor, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Many of us collect here the wretched refuse of another nation's distant shores. This is what makes us great. We are the grand experiment, the great melting pot. To look at this country otherwise and to ask that our greatest strength, our diversity, be muted is disingenuous. We are bound together as much by our Constitution and this country's lawful flag as by the twine that binds us together. If you pick up sticks, they are not as strong individually as they are when they are bound together by twine. We are that twine. We are those sticks. Together we are better. Together we can do more and go farther, faster. And the idealist in me believes that we can do so with compassion for our fellow man and woman. We can do so by acknowledging that yes, we have made a lot of mistakes, but we can allow ourselves to let those mistakes become lessons about how to do better and be better as we move into our collective future. We have got to stop fighting a war that ended over a century and a half ago, both ideologically and literally. We must heal. We must honor the promise that all men and women are created equal and aid our fellow countrymen and women when we find that they cannot avail themselves fully of the promises inherent in all it means to be American. The most decent thing we can do is reach across difference and care. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, we've got some difficult days ahead, but we do not have to endure those days alone. I implore each of you within the sound of my voice to dare greatly, to have the courage to get out of the stands and into the arena, to do the work, no matter how hard, to heal, to have the courage to lay down our literal and psychological and ideological weapons, to greet each other not as strangers, but as brothers and sisters in this grand experiment. I have full faith and credit that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will lead us into a bright and promising future. But they cannot do it alone. The gravity of it is too much to bear. It takes all of us reaching across ideological and philosophical and racial and ethnic and social and economic and political differences to do our part. It takes acknowledging that yes, it hurts, but our pain, though chronic, does not have to be perpetual. Healing can come. It must come. We have an obligation to set an example for the rest of the world. I'm willing to do my part. Are you? What did you do today to make your country great? Not again, but now. What did you do to heal this nation? What have you done to heal yourselves? I'll stop here. Before I go, I'd like to send a happy belated birthday message to the Michelle Obama. Can we talk about how utterly fabulous she looked at the inauguration? Slay, sis. Slay. I script my podcast to encourage my listeners to follow her footsteps across the burning sands. Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris and the fabulous Amanda Gorman are perfect examples of what it means to show up with your full self to achieve a goal. My personal tale is a cautionary tale designed to help you sidestep the many obstacles you may encounter along the way, even if one of those obstacles happens to be yourself. My prayer is that you become, that you achieve all that they have achieved and more, even if you never end up as president or vice president of the United States, or even as first lady or famed poet. I encourage you to become the best you can be in your homes, in your families, in your communities, in your states, in your nations. The world awaits you. We are glad that you are here. Journey well together and be best. Until next time, bye-bye.